What if the tiny, invisible creatures that swim in the darkest corners of the ocean could write a perfect proof in their DNA proof that could tell us when the world would change forever? It was the question that slipped into Maya's mind as she stared at the glowing screen of the research vessel, the hum of engines, a steady heartbeat beneath her. Maya was 32, a marine biologist who had grown up on the sandy streets of a coastal town, her hands always rough from fishing nets and her heart always full of waves. She had a modest apartment overlooking the sea, a few plants, a stack of books, and a growing list of unpaid bills that seemed to grow like weeds. Every day she went out with the crew to collect samples from the deep sea, feeling the thrill of discovery, but also the weight of a life that felt stuck between a paycheck and a dream of something bigger. The vessel was heading to a trench off the coast where a new microbe had been spotted by a sonar scan. The crew was excited, but Maya felt a strange flutter in her chest. She remembered a conversation with her old professor, Louise, who had always said that the ocean was full of secrets waiting to be written in its own code. That night, as she lay in bed, she imagined a creature, tiny and black, swimming in water, so cold it could freeze the soul, holding a piece of the universe in its DNA like a secret letter. What if the deep sea has a living code that can predict the future? She whispered to the dark. The next morning, as the sun painted the horizon gold, Maya stepped into the lab with a sample of the microbe. She watched the tiny organism under a microscope, its membrane shimmering like a bubble. Louis watched her, his eyes bright with the same curiosity that had once made Maya choose biology over any other path. "Let's see what it's saying," he said, and his voice was like a lullaby of science. Maya began the extraction. She was careful, her fingers trembling slightly. The result was a long strand of DNA that looked like a string of beads, each bead a different color. She ran it through a computer, watching as the numbers translated into letters. The pattern was not random. It was a mathematical proof, neat and complete, as if the microbe had written the proof itself. Maya's heart beat faster. She had found a proof that the microbe could foresee a catastrophe that would happen worldwide. The proof spoke of a massive wave, a storm that would sweep across continents, wiping out homes, livelihoods, and hearts. Maya stared at the words, feeling the weight of the truth she held in her hands. She felt both frightened and fascinated. The proof was clear, a disaster was coming, but how could she know it was true? She thought about the lives that would be lost, the families torn apart. She imagined the waves crashing on the same shores she loved. She felt a fierce protectiveness, a desire to warn the world. Yet, the proof was hidden in a microbe that was alive and could be used in many ways. She could share the truth, or she could keep it secret. Her mind was a storm of thoughts. She remembered Louise's last words. "Nature is the greatest storyteller. Maya, listen, but do not trust it blindly." She had to decide what to do. Her decision led her to search old journals, forgotten research notes, and indigenous stories that talked of sea spirits that could see the future. She found a story about a fish that carried a piece of the sky in its belly and a legend about a coral that sang the song of the sea. The stories were simple, but they hinted that the microbe might not be alone. It might be a piece of a larger pattern. She became determined to prove the prediction. She set up small experiments. She fed the microbe with different salts and measured its growth. The microbe responded quickly, like a living clock. Each experiment was a small victory, each result a piece of evidence that the microbe's code was real. The more she tested, the more she felt the pull of responsibility. One day, as she was cleaning her lab, she heard a knock at the door. It was a man she did not recognize, his eyes cold and calculating. He introduced himself as Elliot and said he was from a secret consortium that worked with governments to keep the world safe. He was there to buy the microbe or to take it away. He spoke of weapons and control, of how the microbe's code could be used to prevent the disaster, but also to control humanity. He had come for power, not for knowledge. Maya felt a chill. Her heart was racing. She realized that she had to decide quickly. She could hand the microbe over and let a secret group decide what to do with it, or she could hide it and protect the truth. She could try to warn the world, but she did not know how. She felt like a small boat in a vast sea, but she had a compass in her hands. Maya thought of her family, of her friends, of the children who would run into the waves. She imagined a world where no one would know about the wave and they would be caught off guard. The thought filled her with sorrow. She decided that she could not keep the proof hidden for forever. She could share it with the world, but she needed to do it in a way that would not endanger anyone. She chose to release the proof publicly through a scientific paper, but she would keep the microbe hidden until the world was ready. She would let the wave come, but would use the proof to prepare people. She knew it was risky, but she believed that the truth was a better weapon than fear. The night before she sent the paper, she looked at the microbe under the microscope. It was blinking slowly, like a tiny heart. She whispered, "You are the living code. You have written our story. It is now time to let the world read it." The world read the paper. It made headlines. Scientists debated. Some were scared, others were hopeful. Governments began to prepare. The wave came, not as a monstrous ocean, but as a storm that swept across the earth. The cities were ready. The people had been warned. The wave was less destructive. Many lives were saved. The world changed. People looked at the ocean, at the small microbe that had written the proof, and they saw the fragile connection between nature and humanity. Maya felt a strange relief. She felt guilt for not saving everyone, but she also felt a deep sense of duty fulfilled. She realized that the living code was not a weapon, but a reminder of how everything is connected. The secret consortium tried to take the microbe again, but Maya had hidden it well. The microbe remained a silent witness, a guardian of the truth. The story ended not with a grand finale, but with a quiet moment. Maya stood on a cliff watching the waves. She remembered the words of her old professor, "Listen to nature, but do not trust it blindly." She understood now that nature gives us answers, but we must use them wisely. She smiled at the horizon, feeling both the weight of responsibility and the hope that came from sharing knowledge. She thought about the future. Would people continue to respect the ocean? Would they learn to listen to the living code of other creatures? The ocean was a vast library, and she wondered what other stories it held, hidden in the smallest of organisms. She knew that the world would never be the same, but she also knew that they could choose to live with a better understanding of their place in the grand, living code of nature.
Found this interesting? Subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like, share it out, and drop your questions or ideas in the comments. Until our next adventure.